Okay, so the title of tonight's presentation is The 5 Ways to Lose Weight Again After Bariatric Surgery. We're going to show you that it's likely not the way you're currently trying, and hopefully give you some options, some better ways to move forward with some new information that we're going to share with you. We are just going to try and help you to focus on the stuff that we're covering tonight by asking you to try and mute all of your distractions and avoid multitasking. And to that point, we are going to stop our video just while we're doing the slide presentation because we found that it's hard for us to multitask as well. And so we'll be back on video when we finish the slideshow when it's time for questions and answers, and we'll kind of re-engage then. Okay.
All right, so are you ready to put away all your distractions, close your door, and silence your phone? We're going to be covering a lot of information, and some of it is a little bit complicated, so we don't want to miss something important. And possibly an aha moment or two could happen tonight, and we wouldn't want you to miss that. And to incentivize you to stay to the end and hear everything we are presenting tonight, there will be a bonus that you won't want to miss. And we will be giving the link in the chat at the end. So stay with us for the full hour or so and the Q&A time, and you'll get that bonus.
Yeah, definitely you want to stay for the bonus. Here's our promise to you tonight. By the end of this training, we are going to show you how to move away from these feelings of being stuck in a weight plateau or in a weight gain cycle to knowing how to eat based on your unique surgery anatomy, important, and metabolism so that you can lose the weight you desire, know how to keep it off, and gain the self-confidence and finally knowing how to use the surgical tool that you were given. Does that sound like what you're looking for? If that is sounding good to you, please type yes in the chat box. Specifically, you're going to discover why what you've been doing for years to lose or maintain weight doesn't work, and we're going to walk you through what does.
So imagine being able to skip over all of that Googling, trial and error, and just do what works. I know when I learned and put together a plan that included all of the elements to success, I'm going to share with you that it changed my life. It certainly changed my clients' lives, and I know it can change yours too. So I know for me, after my gastric bypass, I followed a high-protein diet for a while, but soon enough, I gradually went back to my old way of eating, just in smaller amounts. As a result, I never really lost the amount of weight that I expected to, and after a few years, pounds started creeping back. I searched out the easiest and quickest methods to drop weight, like shake-only diets such as Medifast or medications like phentermine, and was on again, off again with a healthy food, high-protein diet approach. The problem was that all of them only worked for a short period of time. And as soon as the scale stopped dropping, I got frustrated and gave up and went back to the diet I knew and loved. All of my old friends, essentially comfort food. So let me ask you, are you tired of on again, off again diets? Are you fed up with not knowing what the best diet approach is for a bariatric surgical patient and sick of getting conflicting advice? Are you doing calorie restriction as a method to lose weight, figuring you'll lose weight by eating less? Are you unsure how to get sustainable weight loss without feeling deprived and hungry? Do you feel a lack of self-confidence and a sense of failure because you just can't seem to get control of your weight? And feel free to add into the chat box anytime you want to so that we can follow with you.
Like right now, what are you most tired of in the weight management journey? I know for me, I definitely felt a sense of failure when I stopped losing. For me, it was only 4 months after my surgery. Of all people that should have been successful, it definitely should have been me. So I, really kind of felt that sense of failure.
Well, basically, if you're nodding your head yes in agreement, and many people have said yes, yes, yes in the chat box to any of these points, I promise I've done all of those things, and so have my patients. And I promise you, whatever it is that you're doing and is not currently working, it's not really your fault. It's really hard to know who is right and who to trust. And if you feel anything like I did back then, I would have done just about anything to get rid of my weight regain, except nothing seemed to work, at least not for long. Let's face it, surgeons are not nutrition experts. In fact, we got very little, if any, nutrition training in medical school. So surgeons know how to cut and manage things like bleeding and infection. But unfortunately, surgeons don't have the knowledge, tools, or frankly, the time to manage people's weight on a long-term basis. Weight management is complicated. There's not one magic pill or diet that will fix everyone, because there are so many factors that contribute to the weight problem in the first place. So likely your surgeon gave you a tool, a bariatric procedure, and some sort of diet plan to follow for a few months, perhaps even a misguided plan like everything in moderation or mashed potatoes and grits diet is fine, all simply because they themselves didn't know any better. It became necessary for me to face the fact that I had to figure out the long-term solution for two reasons. Number one, I had more than 15,000 people that I had operated on over the years that were coming back to me 2, 5, 10, 15, even 20 years following surgery with weight regain. And second of all, I experienced it myself.
Because what we're about to share with you is the fastest and simplest way to feel like the best version of your current self. And by this, I mean that the goal is that you'll wake up every day with enough energy to accomplish everything you need to or want to. This was key for me. Starvation diets and feeling weak and tired is not an option for my busy lifestyle. No more relying on trying the next thing you read about on social media, or the fad diet your friend did and lost weight, or a medication that makes you feel terrible. You'll be able to enjoy food socially and prepare and eat meals with family and friends that everyone will enjoy. You'll be able to stop obsessing over every bite of food you take, and you'll finally feel confident and successful, leaving you feeling in control and proud of yourself that you can manage your lifestyle and your weight. Do me a favor and tell me in the comments any of these scenarios that you really want, like which one best describes why you showed up today, what kind of transformation you're looking for. It's important to establish some credibility here because you need to be able to vet that the information you are hearing is coming from a credible source. So we're going to spend a minute to tell you a little bit about us and some of the highlights about who we are. So for me, from a professional point of view, I obtained the first ever offered certified bariatric nurse designation by the American Society of Bariatric Surgery in 2002. I've worked as a nurse and then as a nurse practitioner and coach to bariatric patients for the last 24 years. Our program has performed more than 20,000 bariatric procedures in that time. So I've seen it all. In our history, we have experience in gastric banding, gastric bypass, sleeve gastrectomy, revision surgery, and we even did the gastric balloon for a bit. So we've done it all. And as a result, we know what works and what doesn't. Currently, today in our current practice, we perform gastric bypass, sleeve gastrectomy, and revision bariatric surgery. I've trained more than 25 bariatric programs on the postoperative care of a bariatric patient, and I've given lectures in prestigious medical conferences on bariatric lifestyle management. I'm also certified in functional medicine. This is looking at root causes of disease. So it's really root cause medicine, and it really focuses on addressing lifestyle factors that contribute to issues. I'm a sleeve gastrectomy patient myself, so this is probably my most important feature to you because I intimately know the struggles and pitfalls since I walked the walk myself and had my own struggles. On a personal note, I'm a mom to teens. One competitively rides horses, so I'm a horse mom, and a travel baseball mom with a day job and two growing businesses who rarely has time for herself and struggles with self-care. So I can definitely relate to the person who typed in the chat box that it's hard to figure out how to navigate the eating and cooking in a busy life. I have to constantly recommit to it and rework things that aren't working for me. I was not successful with my sleeve gastrectomy initially because I didn't fully commit to the lifestyle and I fought to do it my way. And I found Pilates as an exercise that I can actually enjoy. I mean, any exercise you can do the majority of the time laying down is fine.
All right. A little bit about myself. I've been a board certified surgeon since 1988. I've been involved in the specialty of bariatric surgery since 1990, and have operated personally on more than 15,000 bariatric surgery patients. During this time, I was instrumental in training more than 400 surgeons in the technique of laparoscopic gastric bypass, as well as helping them to start their own programs. I've consulted with a number of companies who have technology in the bariatric space, things like robots and other advanced technology. I personally had an open gastric bypass in the 1990s to treat my obesity, and consequently know the benefits and the struggles associated with gastric bypass. I started US Bariatric in 2000 and became the busiest bariatric practice anywhere with patients in all 50 states. I have since given up private practice due to the ever-increasing challenges for physicians in private practice and became employed by my hospital, Flagler Hospital, in 2019. On a personal note, I am a dad, a husband, a surgeon, a medical consultant, a medical legal consultant, a business owner, and oh yeah, I want to be your coach. Unfortunately, however, my personality trait is that I want to excel at everything. And so that's exactly what I'm going to do for you. For years, I accepted mediocre bariatric success without pursuing the complete success I desired. I felt less than successful in this area of my life. It took my wife and her functional medicine trained brain to rattle my reality to accept that I desperately needed change. Slide advance, thank you. So this picture, unfortunately, was me a few years back when I was at my heaviest after my bypass. I had two young kids. Well, it's more than a few years back. Look at them. They're so cute. And was a busy surgeon. I wanted to be able to do the things with them. Even getting down on the floor, however, actually was getting back up. That was the issue. It was very difficult. Getting out of bed every day, my body hurt from the minute my feet hit the floor. I was taking Advil sometimes, even though I wasn't supposed to, just to get through. I used food to try to energize me. And, carbs were my fuel of choice. I was stuck in a rut and not really trying anymore because I just didn't feel like I had the time or mental energy to commit to doing it all the way. It came to a point where I thought my wife and I were going in two different directions. She was on a health journey of her own and was looking and feeling great, and I was just not along for the ride. I feared for what my future would look like because I just felt terrible. How long could I continue 12 to 14-hour surgery days in this condition? When I was in the office, I felt a little bit like an imposter as I was telling my patients how to clean up their diet and get with the program, knowing I couldn't do the same thing I was asking of them. I had a painful problem.
We both came to a point where we had to make a decision. We came to that decision at different times and for different reasons. Our whys were different, but the solution was the same, and so was the outcome. We had to decide that we were not going to settle for the situation we found ourselves in, and it was up to us individually to find a solution.
There I was, feeling old and obese, and I decided no more. I saw how successful and happy my wife was, and I realized that she deserved a better version of me than I was giving her. I knew how much she loved me and worked with me to be around for, and wanted me to be around for a long time. And actually doing things together is always special for us. She loves to travel, and I wanted to feel like I could be active with her. One day, she had a heart-to-heart with me and asked me to start taking better care of myself. She asked me to be her guinea pig for her patients in her practice. I gave in. I wanted to feel and look better. I decided I would do whatever she told me to, like it or not. I would do it for me, but I was really doing it for her too. She ordered functional tests and a full big lab panel on me, put me on a ton of supplements based on my results, and made me read a couple of books. Pretty soon, I was all in. And that's when I started the journey that got me to where I am today, here with you, sharing my methodology with my clients so that they can skip over the years of trial and error and the struggle that I went through so they can just get a healthy lifestyle that works with bariatric surgery patients' unique needs and will allow them to lose and maintain weight and feel and look their best. And that decision led to figuring out that what I had been doing for all those years was almost all completely wrong. I'm so grateful that I made the decision to invest in myself. I would probably still be trying to gain motivation to get back on track and not getting anywhere. Like Oprah says, when you know better, you do better. And by the way, I was on Oprah's show once, and that was an experience that I'm not going to share anything about tonight, but yeah, that's what she says. When you know better, you do better.
What I discovered through all of my trial and error was that it wasn't that I was weak or lazy, and I did not have to be perfect. I had to accept that I was no different than any other bariatric patient that I worked with. I simply could not do it my way and still get amazing results. The truth was that the decrease in calories that came after my sleeve would get me some weight loss, but it wouldn't get me to my goal weight. I knew the science that we will be teaching all of you, and I just had to commit to a style of eating that balanced my blood sugar and hormones. And like it or not, I had to commit to eating to balance my hormones. I knew that obesity, which is excess fat storage, is a metabolic problem that would require a metabolic solution. I discovered that I actually had to do all of the things that I knew were required for success, not one or two of the easier ones, but all of them together. I found out that I didn't have to be perfect, but I did have to commit to implementing the ingredients for success most of the time. This meant that I would have to put in the work to make good decisions and make them work within my crazy, hectic life. I would try different strategies to plan, cook, and organize meals. And when one wasn't working for me, I would have to brainstorm, and I did find another method. Eventually, I would develop a routine that worked. I was really surprised when I found out that getting my body in balance through my diet and supplements would just take care of my weak willpower. When I ate right for my body's needs, cravings were gone, or at least much less, not the loud yell that they were previously. I just had to address the real root cause of my weight plateau, because there is a simpler way to get willpower and stick with a plan. Even though I had made a decision to fix the things that were broken in my lifestyle and get rid of all the things that weren't serving me, it wasn't smooth sailing. I was always overwhelmed trying to figure out how to do all of the things each and every day. When I couldn't get it together, I felt like a failure and sometimes wanted just to give up. I struggled figuring out how to remember my supplements, how to make time for cooking healthy meals, what to cook that everyone would eat, and how to socialize without drinking alcohol, and how to figure out my stress and sleep habits, which were a mess. It took a lot of time and patience, and there was no way I could have arrived at the Bariatric Success Method without having invested furthering my professional education and becoming an expert in functional medicine. Because this allowed me to understand how all of the lifestyle factors contributed positively or negatively to my health and well-being. It also allowed me to be surrounded with like-minded people who were health seekers. I also decided that I had to seek out programs and coaches to help me reframe my mindset, and that I had to show up for each week. I needed the accountability and I needed the support to do the next right thing. I was fully committed to figuring it out, and I was not going back to my old ways. They were no longer serving me. And I was so frustrated that I was so far away from the best version of myself when I was trying to do it the old way. A big part of my why for change, honestly, was to be a better role model for my children and show my patients that hard nitty-gritty work could be done and I could show them how.
Okay, enough about us. Let's talk about the real reasons why what you're trying in order to lose or maintain weight isn't working. Let's talk about you. We have to recognize first and foremost that most bariatric patients are given a diet plan to follow for only the first few months, maybe even up to a year following surgery. Many patients that I speak to that had surgery through another program were given advice such as everything in moderation or teaching of a stepwise diet progression simply focused on eating what they could tolerate well, rather than teaching a healthy diet approach focused on weight loss and giving people the lifestyle education tools to teach them how to tolerate most foods. What I've found in my experience is that most advice and nutritional counseling is not scientifically based advice for someone trying to lose significant amounts of weight and trying to maintain an elevated metabolism so that they can then maintain that weight loss. Most of you can probably attest to the fact that eating anything you can tolerate, just less of it, will get you only so far, and then it stops working. Generally, people can lose weight for 5 to 7 months with this approach following surgery, and then it's pretty much done. And if you still have 50 or 75 pounds to lose, maybe even more than 100, this is not a happy place to be. Believe it or not, contrary to what we've been told our entire weight loss seeking lives, eating less is not scientifically proven to work after our first or second diet attempt. What are we bariatric surgery patients on by now? Maybe attempt 10 or 20? Who knows? Let's dive into some common examples of misguided dietary advice that is often given to bariatric surgery patients that is not backed by any science. The most common is that decreasing calories significantly by skipping meals or eating a very low-calorie diet, and here I'm talking about maybe using shakes or bars as meal replacements for most meals. It is believed that eating fewer and fewer calories is the only way to lose weight. Another common approach that we see is a low-fat approach. This is another variation of restricting calories, but here it is by using low-fat or fat-free versions of foods. Another misguided plan that we see all the time is eating every 2 to 3 hours. They say that you're going to, quote, stimulate your metabolism by eating frequently. The last one that we're going to talk about is using sugar-free everything. Sugar-free drinks, condiments, sauces, dressings, popsicles, Jell-O. Now just remember, we didn't say these won't work. We do claim that they won't work long-term for most people who've been obese and dieted through these methods multiple times. The reality is for us, they might work for a few months, then stop, and maintaining with these approaches is very difficult for the average person.
So the common approach of restricting calories in a big way through skipping meals or eating very, very small meals or using shakes or bars. This works for a short time or perhaps not even at all if this is the umpteenth time you've dieted this way. Because each time we do this for any length of time greater than a few weeks, our body down regulates our metabolism in efforts to avoid starvation. This is built into our DNA. So this means that we're going to burn less and less calories in a day. Eventually, our calorie burn becomes so slow, it's impossible to eat so few calories. This is where most bariatric patients find themselves. We can't forget to mention that in this diet approach, it is not giving our bodies the amount of diversity of nutrients required to run our bodies efficiently and to not signal to the body that we are in danger. So when the body senses danger, it prioritizes survival and will hold on to fat, not get rid of it.
Next, we have substituting fat for carbohydrates and allowing simple starches like bread, pretzels, popcorn, rice cakes, or whatever. These foods cause a spike in glucose similar to a candy bar, especially in a bariatric surgical patient. Remember, we have more rapid absorption, and so the body senses these foods more quickly. This causes insulin to rise to meet the glucose. And as you may or may not understand, when your body releases insulin, this inhibits lipolysis, which is fat breakdown. Not only is it unlikely to burn fat, but as a bariatric surgery patient, the rise and fall of blood glucose is much higher and faster and quicker than someone who hasn't had our surgeries. This causes hanger, shakiness, and likely results in eating more sugar or starch. Add to this, low-fat diets lack staying power and result in hunger every 1 to 2 hours after eating. The cells in the body require fat in order to stay fluid, which means not stiff. And fluid cells allow for easy penetration of nutrients into the cells. We need good, strong cellular level of nutrients in order to run the processes in our body. This is a concept that most people take for granted, that your body's just going to run fine. A lack of nutrients leads to a whole host of symptoms and problems. Inability to create energy, and thus weight loss, is just one of them.
Next is the false belief for weight management of frequent small meals. I know many of you were taught this, and in part this is because we simply can't eat enough at one time early on after surgery. So in those initial first few weeks and months, it may be necessary to eat a little bit more frequently. But as we mature in our bariatric journey, this becomes no longer relevant. Hear me out here. This is a simple yet important concept. Every time we eat, yes, even when we're just eating protein, our blood sugar rises some. When blood sugar rises, the insulin hormone rises to meet glucose and take it out of the blood and put it into our cells for energy. When we eat frequent small meals, this promotes blood glucose and insulin spikes essentially all day long. And remember what Dr. Merriman said, elevated insulin inhibits lipolysis. So even if we were eating the perfect types of foods, doing it all day long never gets our insulin to stay low enough for long enough to tackle fat cells. The average person, I saw a study that the average person eats for 16 hours in a day. So that's maybe one of our issues.
Yep. So our last myth to bust is that we should eat sugar-free everything. While we agree that high sugar diets are not going to promote weight loss, the sugar-free culture has forced the addition of harmful artificial sweeteners, preservatives, and chemicals in order to make these highly processed foods taste good to our uber sweet addicted brains. The issue here is these chemicals confuse the body. The body doesn't know if we're eating food or poison. Since these chemicals induce inflammation in the gut lining and in the body, efforts to attack the potential poison or toxin results in inflammation, and this produces fat storage, not fat loss. So studies clearly demonstrate the insulin and glucose spike associated with consuming uber sweet sugar substitutes is only slightly less than real sugar. Imagine you're eating something sugar-free and your body is registering it the same as a candy bar. So additionally, they train our taste buds to prefer very sweet things, creating a cycle of carb sugar craving and inflammation. Mm-hmm. The evidence is also clear that these chemical artificial sweeteners kill off healthy gut bacteria. Guess what? There is a strong link between a lack of healthy gut bacteria and obesity. I know that for me personally, this was the very first change I made, giving up Splenda. And it had a huge benefit to both my level of inflammation to my body and to my weight loss efforts. So I hope now you're beginning to understand the important concepts of how what we eat matters for weight loss of when we want to lose large amounts of weight. If we were trying to lose 10 pounds, we might be able to get away with some of these methods, but this is not the case for us that are present tonight. Hopefully, this is making sense now why what you have been doing up until now hasn't been working for you to get the desired outcome. Let me summarize again. The root cause of weight gain and failure to continue to lose weight after losing initially is due to blood sugar and insulin elevations, which inhibit fat breakdown and promote hunger and cravings. Also, decreased metabolism due to severe calorie restriction for prolonged periods of time, making it difficult to continue to lose weight or maintain weight. When we eat foods that spike glucose and insulin, we don't use fat for energy. We use the glucose we just ate. Furthermore, by repeatedly severely decreasing calorie intake, our daily calorie burn decreases each time we have dieted this way. When we burn only 800 calories in a day, it is very hard to cut calories even lower in order to lose, even after bariatric surgery. There has to be a better way, and there is.
Let's talk about this question. Who is your worst weight loss enemy? Please answer in the chat box, and I will wait a minute. Well, okay, I was going to say we have one brave person. All right, great. I see that you understand and kind of really get the fact that it is ourselves who we fight against most in this arena. Why is that, you wonder? I believe that it is because we have a lifetime of experience in trying and failing, which leads to a lack of belief in ourselves and all kinds of terrible self-talk and faulty beliefs towards ourselves and our ability to be successful with weight management. The reality is that in order to get unstuck, we have to be able to acknowledge and overcome our faulty beliefs and our self-limiting concepts in order to get unparalyzed and take action. You see, change can only happen from action. It can't happen from hoping or wishing or talking about it or listening to this webinar. We have to be willing and able to take action towards our desired outcome. So let's dive into some common self-limiting beliefs that we most commonly hold. While I'm talking here, I would like for you to really consider which of these apply to you. It's important because you need to kind of be able to overcome them to move forward. And so think about, either type it in the comments if you want, but if it's too vulnerable to share, just write it down in front of you so that you can come back later and process for yourself. So the first one is that the concept that I should be able to eat everything in moderation. Some people say that this is important because it avoids obsessing over food. In reality, this may be true when you're trying to maintain weight, but for true weight loss, we need to balance our hormone in a way that allows for fat loss, as we've kind of started alluding to. This means that we need to change the types of foods we eat. We can, however, find appropriate substitutions for many of our favorite foods that still balance hormones. The next one is, my family won't eat my food and it's too hard to cook separate meals. I hear this all the time, especially from my women clients. And the reality is that the primary staple of a diet that balances hormones is healthy for your family also. Unless they're underweight or super athletes, pasta, potatoes is not a requirement at each meal. They can have these when they eat out, or you can make a side of starch in bulk for the week for them to enjoy as a side, but there is no need to cook separate meals. But in order for you to reach your goals, you do need to eat a certain way most of the time. The next one is, I'm too busy to plan and cook meals every day. I definitely relate to this one a lot. And, I've come to the determination that spending a few hours once a week to plan and prep actually saves time in a busy week. It's a non-negotiable for me at this point. Batch cooking and prepping on the weekend allows for super easy and fast meal prep during the week. So let's face it, our current American lifestyles of fast food and quick and easy is the main cause of the obesity epidemic. And we will have to step out of our cultural norms if we want to have true transformation. We just can't eat less of whatever we want and experience transformation. So if that's what you're thinking that you want, if that's what you're working towards, then we have to change our thought process. I mean, if you think about anyone who's had a radical transformation, you can kind of acknowledge that they didn't achieve it by small little changes sometimes. They went big. The last one we hear a lot, and we understand it well. We both shared with you that we had to overcome this barrier ourselves. The key here is to recognize that obesity is a disease. The treatment and management of our disease requires specialized lifestyle approaches, perhaps different from others that are in our lives. What we have to aim for is a new normal, a normal in which we have put in the effort to understand what works well for our bodies to feel great and maintain weight. Once we understand this knowledge, then we have to seek out support and accountability to help us maintain eating this way for an extended period of time. What happens is that our brains can then make new neural pathways to where this way of eating is our new normal. Our brains like routine, not change. We all kind of know that, but because we like to go back to what's familiar, our brains don't like the change of new, but we can overcome the old pathway with a new pathway with sustained habits. And it did take both Bob and I time and effort in our change process, but I promise you that our old favorite foods and normal way of eating is completely different now. We are now those healthy people that annoy others. But I can promise you that it's fine by us because we do not feel deprived. Here are some more of the common self-limiting beliefs, otherwise known as excuses we tell ourselves. One is I socialize often or I eat business dinners out. I'm, entertained for a living. I'm on the road for my job and I can't follow a plan. And the reality is that there are appropriate options at every restaurant and fast food or gathering. You just have to know how to ask for it and what to choose. The next one is I don't have the willpower to diet again because it always fails. This one I feel sad about, but it's something we have to face. The reality is we have to change our mindset around dieting. When a lifestyle is full of things you can have versus a bunch of things you can't, you have options that don't leave you feeling deprived. You just have to do the work to find those substitutions. And when you balance your hormones, I promise your hunger and cravings are minimal and you're losing weight, which provides momentum to continue. It's about having faith in the process and faith in yourself and seeing what transformation lies ahead. The other very common one that I hear a lot of, I heard it today, as a matter of fact, I don't have the money to buy health food. It's too expensive to eat healthy, or it's too expensive to pay for personal training or for coaching. And the reality here is that this is really the case for a rare few. We all make decisions about how we spend our hard-earned money. Where we put our energy in terms of time, energy, or finances is what we prioritize most. And what I mean by this is that if I value having nice handbags or a collection of shoes that, people envy, great. This is a personal value. But when it comes to our health and our well-being, it simply does not happen without considerable investment of time, energy, and finances. So without truly investing in yourself, it's just something down on the list of important things and therefore effort. So less important, less effort. So in conclusion here, the barrier is oftentimes something we say to justify putting off prioritizing ourselves because we have an inner fear of failure or a lack of self-worth that we are actually worthy of investing in ourselves. And I really want you to hear and know tonight that you deserve the health, the body, and the weight that you want. You truly do.
Perhaps the biggest false belief that we hold is I had bariatric surgery. That should have been enough to fix my weight problem. Look, I believed this untruth too, until I had to face the fact that managing weight is like managing any other chronic disease. A heart disease patient can't go back to smoking after a period of quitting simply because his cardiologist says his numbers are much better. The diabetic can't go back to eating pasta and dessert after their hemoglobin A1C and glucose levels improve on diet and medication. and a bariatric surgery patient can't sustain good results if they fail to maintain a lifestyle that addresses the root cause of obesity and fat storage. It is just our reality. It's our genetics. It's what it is. Fair, unfair, frustrating, sad, whatever you want to label it, it is just simply our situation. And everyone has some situation. This one is yours. When we understand this and release the fear surrounding lifestyle change, we can take action without resistance, and suddenly it doesn't feel as overwhelming. So I hope that in some small way I have motivated you tonight to take a deeper look at what is your resistance to action and change and reframe those thoughts into something more meaningful, something powerful enough to invoke motivation for change. I know how important change has been to Whitney and I, and we want that for you. The reason you showed up here is because you want to stop living a life being petrified of weight gain after bariatric surgery and stop living in shame due to weight gain after having once been successful with bariatric surgery. You want to show yourself and the world that you took on your weight issues and you won. Here's what I discovered that works. During my journey after my own gastric bypass, I thought that I would be dedicated enough to the program that I would certainly succeed. I knew all the tricks for success. Then reality hit me too. The mainstream diet recommendations that I received and what I heard from my colleagues just didn't work for myself like it hadn't worked for many others. I tried many different types of shakes only diets, 3 meals and 2 snacks, protein only, skipping a meal, advertised supplements, phentermine, etc. And none of it worked beyond a few pounds that came right back. After too many years of frustrating efforts, I gave up for a while. I had not achieved my goal weight, and I was going to have to accept that. I started gaining 10 pounds each year, and the extra pounds started affecting my quality of life. I finally decided that I would have to dig into the science of the problem and fix it for myself and everyone else in my shoes. I needed a plan that focused on the uniqueness of the post-bariatric surgery patient. During my research, I discovered that Dr. Google, as people refer to it, is replete with awful suggestions and poor quality advice. So is Facebook and many of these online support groups and chat rooms that are unmonitored by professionals who truly know bariatric surgery. This problem deserves better. You have to address the root cause, which is not having a deep understanding and adoption of a lifestyle that was practical enough to be doable and powerful enough to be effective at losing weight and keeping it off. Then you need a proven method, a step-by-step plan in place that addresses the root cause so that you can stop doing all of the things that don't work and just focus on the key elements that do. I discovered that in order to lose weight and maintain my weight while having great energy and mood, I needed these 5 things. Element number 1, to address the root cause, lack of understanding of a specific proven nutritional approach. I had to eat in the way that worked for my physiology of being a person following surgery with a history of obesity and who had tried and failed multiple diets in the past. Element number 2, a step-by-step plan that taught me exactly what to do, outlined simple enough for me to follow, and why I needed proof before I was willing to overhaul my lifestyle. Here is where the Bariatric Success Method came into play for me. It was formed after Whitney and I spent decades of trial and error with our own patients, spent countless hours doing courses and diving into research, and applying Whitney's functional medicine principles to our knowledge. What came out of all of this was simple yet effective step-by-step plan for adopting a new lifestyle that allows us to lose weight and then maintain our weight. And I can't leave out that it allowed us to feel better than we have probably ever felt. Element number 3, to address my fears and limiting beliefs, to have a real food plan for eating that I could use in any situation, and address the factors besides diet that were impeding my efforts. I had to lose the idea that my reward for a day or week of hard work was eating crappy comfort food. I found other rewards, and I found other foods that rewarded me and served my goals. Element number 4, a professional that I could ask questions to and get support from. Yes, even me. I was fortunate to have Whitney to order testing and guide my next steps in my program, but I also needed work around my mindset and motivation, and I invested in some Tony Robbins programs to help me work through my self-limiting barriers. For me, this worked wonders. Element number 5, to have accountability and support. Let's face the reality that becoming a health seeker is nearly impossible when everyone around you is doing the opposite. This leads to failure eventually because at some point we will give in to others' opinions that we are too radical or no fun, too strict, and their suggestions to live a little. This enabling and sabotage is difficult for even the strongest willed people. We had to engage with other health seekers that could help us stay motivated and not leave us feeling so alone. When I had all of these things in place, it was like magic for me. I was able to be sure of myself and know exactly what to do, and had motivation for the first time in a long time to keep going. At this point, I don't feel such tremendous effort to stay motivated because my habits are set in stone. I eat what serves me most of the time, with allowances for imperfection, but never allowing it to completely derail my happy and healthy lifestyle that works superbly for me. The success elements don't just apply to me and Whitney. They work for our patients too. They work because I acknowledge all of the factors that contribute to suboptimal success or weight regain. Here's a few of our patients and their stories and how they turned their less than ideal situation around. David came to me after not having followed up for about 10 years after his bypass. He was 50 pounds up from his lowest weight. He said, "Doc, this thing stopped working a long time ago. I don't have the restriction anymore and I can eat anything I want to, and I've gained all this weight. It's making me so tired and I can't get out to walk every day like I used to." We did some testing to make sure his operation was still effective and labs to look at his full vitamin and mineral levels. His surgery was fine. He had iron deficiency, vitamin D deficiency, B12 deficiency, and his glucose was almost 200. We analyzed his current program elements and found that he had fallen away from almost every habit that he was initially taught. He forgot a lot of the critical pieces of success, including taking specialized vitamins, and was drinking while he ate. We started working with him once a month for an hour each time, reteaching what, why, and how. After 6 months, he was feeling like a new man because once we established the right vitamin program and corrected his deficiencies, his energy and motivation came back and the fog lifted. He got back to an eating plan that worked to leave him feeling satisfied, a return of restriction, and able to do his long walks again. Sure, he needed some convincing, or as we call it, re-education, and he even brought his wife to his appointments so that she could understand too. But with some coaching and support and balancing his body's needs to optimize his functioning, he gained more momentum with each visit. Then there's Janice. She had her sleeve gastrectomy in Mexico, and while surgery went well, she had no complications, she was given absolutely no nutritional counseling to tell her what to eat, and she lacked support and follow-up after her surgery. When she first came to me, she was experiencing weight regain from her lowest weight after surgery, and even that wasn't where she wanted to be, and she didn't know what to do. She was in my office asking for a revision. She was asking for that revision because that's what Dr. Google had told her that she needed. She told me, "I don't understand why I'm gaining weight. I don't eat that much." This is a statement that I hear from patients all the time. I told her that I didn't think she needed a revision, but that I believed she needed to learn how to effectively use the tools she was given. At first, she was skeptical that going through my program without another operation would work. I don't blame her. She had already invested in and tried so much. She had a large portion of her stomach removed and still wasn't getting the results she desired. But she was willing to commit to our work, and it's a good thing she did. After we started working together, she lost 12 pounds in 6 weeks, and she continued losing 33 more over the next few months. 3 years later, she sees me in annual follow-up and is proud that she has stayed within 3 pounds of her personal goal weight of 145. She is a strong advocate to others that aftercare in a program matters. Lastly, we'll talk about Sylvia, who came to me 2 years after her sleeve. She was still obese with a BMI of 31.5 and had never gotten below this after her procedure and had worsening depression and anxiety. She couldn't understand why she wasn't losing weight since she was eating so little. She drank 4 to 6 diet sodas, a few cups of coffee, and had a few snacks throughout the day. She was so busy with her kids as a single mom that she was actually going through drive-throughs, and she knew fast food made her feel sick, so she just skipped eating mostly when she was getting her kids' food. She snacked on chips, some fruit, trail mix. Her body was so unbalanced based on her poor diet, high chemicals, and stress, it was in a fight or flight mode. Through some re-education and more frequent engagement with the office, we set up a plan for her that used batch cooking meals that she could use both for herself and the kids. We substituted beverages for her diet, sodas that gave her energy without the caffeine, and worked on her stress and sleep. In 3 months, she was significantly less depressed and anxious. She felt good about her new habit of cooking large crock-pot meals 2 times per week that everyone enjoyed and was healthier than fast food. She had dropped some weight, and her faulty thinking was caring for herself again. She needed the support of our team and our online support groups to help remind her of this.
All right. So as we're wrapping up here tonight, our final questions for you and food for thought for you to consider tonight are the following questions. What do you need in order to move from where you are now to transformation? We gave you proof tonight that transformation requires a change in thinking and taking actions towards your goal. You recognize that no one will take action for you. This is an inside job. Second, does part of that transformation require you asking for help in order to get you there? I know I was and still am bad at asking for help, but if you're really honest with yourself, is that the reason you haven't been successful on your own? Do you need help? Number 3, do you need support and accountability to maintain the changes that you put into place? Maybe you already know what to do and how to do it, but you can't seem to make it stick for any length of time because you don't have someone to hold your hand and help you work through your own barriers. Maybe you don't have health seekers around you to offer support and not leave you feeling alone in your journey. Number 4, after hearing us tonight and hearing all the motivating stories of hope and clear evidence as to what steps to take, are you at a place where you're ready and willing to commit to change? You have to be honest with yourself here, because if the answer is no, or I don't know, then figuring out why you are not a hell yeah in the commitment category is where you need to focus your energy right now. Go back to those barriers that you wrote down earlier. How can you reframe them to move you forward in commitment level? Number 5, are you just simply sick and tired of the situation you are in of being overweight and overwhelmed? I saw some overwhelmed comments earlier in the chat box. Is your why for change of being in this painful situation bigger than your fear of change or fear of failure? And lastly, do you know from being in our group and from tonight's presentation that what we offer as a coaching program is what you need for transformation? I mean, there are many ways you can reach out in helping you to achieve transformation, but we hope that you're beginning to trust us enough to consider our 4-month coaching program as a potential solution for your painful problem, and consider Dr. Merriman and I to be your guide in transformation. So I am going to go back on camera, and we will definitely have a little conversation for anyone who can stay. The stay till the end bonus is a 2-week bariatric reset diet. So I want to, I'm going to put that in the chat box in just a second. Let me just finish this slideshow to the end. I also offer 30-minute calls. They're called Bariatric Solution Strategy calls. And the outcome for the call is really just to learn about you and what your needs and desires are. And then to identify kind of what your barriers are in getting you there. And if what we offer in our program is the right fit to help you reach those goals. And then if not us, or if not the right time, what other options might help move you forward for your, unique issues and barriers. So I'm also going to put a link to book a call in the chat. And because you registered for this event, you're also going to be receiving emails with the link to book a call in those starting tomorrow. So basically the strategy call is for anyone who is looking to continue to lose weight after their procedure, who either doesn't know how to get there, doesn't know what steps to take, or just kind of doesn't have the confidence that they have what it takes to keep momentum and moving forward with those changes on a continual basis. That's what I find most of our patients over the years have really needed. They've really needed to see me frequently, to see us in the office, or to come to our groups, to engage, so that we were helping them work through the challenges that were coming up from them, whether it was they were too busy, or whether it was somebody was sabotaging them, or whether they were just, afraid of change, whatever those issues were, somebody to kind of walk with them in the journey and kind of, help them navigate it. So I'm going to go off of this presentation now so I can grab my links to put them in the chat box, but I will go back and look here at some of these comments. So Kelly, so you had an appointment with your nutritionist and she's putting you on some medication for hunger and cravings. What do you think about these? I mean, we actually use some medications with our own patients, but the thing is that I really only use them once we've established some sort of follow-up program where they're working with us and they're doing, the other key important things, because really it's got to be the diet lifestyle changes have to be set there first, because if you just do medication, it's going to be just another failed attempt, in which is just another devastation. You're going to gain it back when the weight is gone. So in what we like to do is, really get the habits in place, work through all the barriers, work through the issues and kind of making it a lifestyle. And then as you maybe plateau with that and still quite aren't there, maybe medications can play a good, a place. But they're certainly not the best place to start unless you're really using them as kind of like momentum, because it's going to give you a little bit of pounds right off the bat, but you're fully intending on making those behavior changes alongside with it. So we've got a couple questions about vitamins. So we have a vitamin line. So, I mean, it's what we've formulated a bariatric vitamin over 25 years ago, and we still promote those to our patients today. So we have like 20,000 patients who've used them, and that's what we generally use. So of course, that's what I have the most experience in. I know they work, and that's what we kind of promote. There, of course, are lost now. At the time when we formulated the bariatric vitamin company, there were no other vitamins available, and we did it because patients needed something to take that worked. Now there's a lot of various companies. So I think the important thing is, like, what I tell patients is it's taking something that you will take, that you can afford, and that you're going to take on a regular basis, and then get your labs monitored every year. I run very extensive vitamin panels because I don't, like I see so often on chat rooms, like, I take Flintstones vitamins and my labs are great. I'm like, yeah, well, what labs are you talking about? Like a CBC? Or are you talking about like vitamin A and K and E and D and, iron full panel? And I mean, that's a big difference, right? So since I do monitor people's full labs every day for a living, I kind of know what to expect and where pitfalls can come. So it's just important to get your labs checked and maintain a vitamin regimen and adjust it as you need to. I know, Jeanette, I totally feel you. I think that the realization that bariatric surgery didn't break our love for food for all of us, and you just want to kind of be able to eat whatever you want. and just eat it in small amounts, I mean, that would be great. I mean, I wish we had a methodology to do that, but it's just from all of our years of experience, just not possible. Because
It
when,
universally leads to weight regain over time.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe not this year, but it does get there.
And yes, the trial and error of finding what you like and kind of figuring it out is it's an investment. Like I was saying, it's an investment of time and energy and finances. But the key is, like, once you do the hard work, it becomes much easier because you have your go-tos, you have your substitutions, you know what you like. And it's just like before, like if your favorite food used to be mac and cheese, well, your favorite food now you figure out might be mashed cauliflower with Parmesan cheese, whatever that substitution is for you. But it's about putting in the time and the commitment and the investment to figure it out and carry it forward. And then the real measure of success really is at the end of it, when somebody asks, what could you really go for tonight for dinner? Like it's, salmon and cauliflower, or it's something that is appropriate for you. That really is where it becomes easy to maintain your weight, is when that is truly the truth.
One of the questions here is regarding chewable vitamins versus capsule. There's no issue with vitamin capsules dissolving and appropriate absorption occurring, as long as that vitamin is a bariatric vitamin, which has elevated levels of certain vitamins in order to meet your needs. So, and another point that has been asked about here or stated is that my lab work is always good. And I have to kind of chuckle a little bit because we frequently see people in the office who have, quote, normal vitamin levels with their doctor. And I said, well, show me the lab work. And when they show me the lab work, there's like 2 things checked of the 25 things that we check. And so, of course, their lab work's normal because the few things that were checked are not the ones that are usually a problem. Right?
Right. So
you see that all the time.
It's like, it's not apples to apples. It's just like not comparison.
Right. So
one of the things we definitely do with our clients, like in our program, is give them all of the lab work that they should be, asking for, so that that you're getting the full panel. I mean, the American Society of Bariatric Surgery sets guidelines. So there's guidelines out there based on procedure, what you should be getting tested. So we follow those, and yeah, it's a lot, but if you don't look for it, you're not going to find it. And we fix people's problems that they've been having for years, that they've been doctoring for and medicating for: neuropathy, depression, different aches and pains.
And they turn out to be vitamin issues.
Yeah. And all along, it was just a deficiency or suboptimal vitamin level.
Why don't you tell them what the bonus is here?
Oh, I put the link into the
link's there, but what is it?
So it's a 2-week bariatric reset guide. So it just is it's what we give our patients when they say, listen, I've fallen off. I need to get back on track. And they always just ask for the reset diet.
Gotcha.
So it's, that's just something that they can try, just kind of get them into the groove of weeding out sugar and getting back to it. There was a question, I screwed up my chat here a little bit, but there was a question about, hang on. Oh, my doctor says I can eat whatever I want. The nutritionist says use 2 protein shakes a day and has guidelines for other things. You feel like a high protein diet isn't the healthiest, and kind of, I know, you need protein, but I feel like I still need veggies and fruits, etc. Like, what sort of balance do y'all follow? Yeah. I mean, that's a great question. Neither one of us are dietitians, right? So like, nutritionists definitely know nutrient distribution of foods much better than us, but we have invested a lot of time and a lot of education in the topic. So you're right. I mean, first of all, I think, replacing meals with shakes up to 2 times a day, like that, is like, it falls into that one category of severe calorie restriction. So it doesn't help you lose weight, because the longer you do that type of approach, the more your metabolism is going to downregulate in order to avoid you dying from starvation. That's what our bodies do. They have a program built into our DNA so that we don't starve to death. And that is, okay, we're not getting enough calories. Let's down regulate our metabolism so that we burn less, so that we require less. And so, so that's why we're not like super in favor of the low calorie or the really restriction like that. As far as high protein diets, I mean, people say that all the time. I don't. We're bariatric patients. We don't eat that much at one time. So high protein diets, yeah, when you can't eat 200, 300 grams of protein a day, but who of us could if we tried?
But one of the things you have to understand is that the body can make sugar from fat. So we don't need to consume very much sugar.
Right.
And the body needs certain essential fats, which are often tied to protein.
Yeah.
And the body cannot, within itself, make protein without protein coming in from the outside. So of all the things that, the major categories of things that we need as a human being, protein is one of the most important elements of your diet following bariatric surgery.
Yeah, I was just telling a patient in the office today, she was asking me, I said, listen, the pouch is precious real estate in there.
That's
like,
a good way
we
to put it.
can't take it up with crap. Like, we can't eat some bread or pasta. Like, not if we need to focus on nourishing ourselves and giving our bodies what it needs first. So.
Good statement.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you. I feel like you still need veggies and fruits too. I feel like at 8 years post-op, I still don't eat enough fruits and veggies, just based on we can't get enough volume if we tried. Like, I can't eat 5 cups of fruits and vegetables in a day. I just can't. So I do green juices, and I do, smoothies and different things to get in some of that stuff, because it is important. And I take a lot of supplements.
But those are smoothies you made, not stuff you buy out at
Smoothie King.
No, I didn't want to use a commercial establishment, but not
true.
Right. So you understand.
How are you getting the B vitamins without bread and pasta? Oh, I mean, B vitamins are, yes, pasta and breads are fortified with B vitamins, because there used to be a time where we as a society were deficient in vitamin Bs. And so the government fortified our foods with it, but there's the B vitamins are in tons of foods. Meats, I mean, they're plentiful in seafood.
And your vitamins,
because we have malabsorption to it. So we have malabsorption of B vitamins, especially B12. B1 thiamine deficiency can be common. So that's part of a good solid vitamin program for sure.
And can be completely done without breads and pastas.
For sure.
Absolutely.
And then, is there a kind of protein that works best for bariatric patients? Whey protein is most complete, because it has all of the essential amino acids, the ones that we can't make or produce in our body by a chain of chemical reactions. So whey protein is the only one that's going to have all of them. So that's preferred unless you have some kind of sensitivity, allergy, or something to whey. The best way to get water intake and stop eating ice. Well, eating ice is a key sign of iron deficiency. So I would definitely look to address that, because we're so prone to it. So when somebody says they'd like to eat ice, that's the first thing I go to.
They're 99%.
Yeah, it's a guarantee. But getting the water intake, I mean, I've so many tricks. I mean, first of all, it's something we have to continuously have with us always. Like, it's got to be, I saw a meme one time and said, how do you know a bariatric patient? So they all have 3 cups with them at all times. So true. I have my shake, my water, and my green juice at all, this conglomeration of cups. I bring in like 10 cups every day when I get home from being out. But with water, I mean, first of all, I like to vary it I make infusions. I use fruit and herbs. Like, I might do strawberry and basil or something like that, just to give it a little bit of flavor, make it a little more interesting, so I'm more enticed to drink it. Different waters, like I love Evian for a treat, or like, Voss or Fiji, something that feels really light.
But not sparkling.
And using straws helps me. That's just my own individual preference, but it's just an effort. It's an effort. It's like every day I wake up, I say, I'm going to get my water in today. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but every day it's a focus. Yeah, Splenda is in everything. It's the devil. I do a lot of functional medicine work with bariatric patients and non-bariatric patients. A lot of gut dysfunction. It's kind of my niche in that realm. Bacterial overgrowth and bloating and IBS symptoms and things like that. And I believe wholeheartedly that Splenda is a big key part of the development of that, because it really is bleaching your microbiome, all of your good, healthy bacteria. So I like monk fruit and stevia and erythritol. And we like the combination of monk fruit and erythritol, like the swerve, although it's really expensive. So we find it on
But you
Amazon.
use so little.
Well, you do, yeah. But because so far the studies don't show those to have the same effect either on the microbiome or on raising
Insulin.
glucose.
Right.
So, all right, guys. Well, it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate you guys being here and hearing what we have to say. I also really appreciate like the honor of just kind of being there to kind of maybe perhaps inspire some of you or give you hope. Maybe some of you give you bad news, like that you can't eat just a little of everything, right? But I'm sorry for that, but I'll always be truthful. And I look forward to seeing you inside the groups, emails, and hopefully some of you decide to book a call with me so we can just kind of work through where you're at and where you want to go and what it's going to take to get you there. So I look forward to seeing you in the groups, and we'll talk soon. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Have a good evening.